The sound of footsteps echoed inside the cave. They were not human footsteps. They were heavy, dragging, as if something ancient, something that should not exist, was drawing near. The dampness in the air seemed to freeze inside my lungs. Each drop falling from the stalactites resounded like the ticking of a funeral clock, marking the seconds before the inevitable. Zodra gripped my arm tightly. Her yellow eyes, always steady, now trembled with a mixture of fear and urgency. "Jake?" Her voice was a whisper, nearly swallowed by the silence of the rock. "We don't have much time. Someone is coming." My throat went dry. "The Forgotten?" She shook her head slowly, grimly. "Worse. The true one responsible for my capture." The words hung between us like invisible blades. "Who?" I pressed, my voice reduced to a thread. Zodra averted her gaze, as if she feared to even speak it aloud. When she finally did, her voice cracked. "The Colonel doesn't serve himself alone. He is merely a watchdog. There is someone else, someone who has lived since before me, since the very beginning of this world." The silence that followed was more merciless than any answer. Since the beginning? The rational mind of the geologist within me rebelled. 10,000 years already seemed impossible. But what she implied, it went beyond comprehension. Not a god, not a legend, but a real presence. Tangible. A power that manipulates, that controls. Always hidden, always moving the pieces of humanity as if on an endless chessboard. My heart hammered in my chest. "What does this thing want?" I asked, my voice turning into a growl. Zodra met my gaze. "Everything. It wants power. Or power. It wants to control the Azurite and wipe out your species and mine." A shiver ran down my spine. She took a deep breath and released my arm, slowly stepping back. Her eyes wandered into the darkness of the cave, as if she could see beyond the stone walls. Project Chimera was never just an experiment. It was that being's attempt to create soldiers loyal to him. "Do you think you were the only one who survived?" My body turned cold. "There are others like me?" Her silence was worse than any confirmation, until she finally spoke. "3 brothers. One hidden in Russia, another in China, and the third," her voice faltered and her eyes darkened. "The third betrayed me." The air drained from my lungs. "What do you mean?" "He was the one who led them to me, who revealed my weaknesses. He was like you, Jake, a perfect hybrid, but he chose to serve them." The ground seemed to crumble beneath my feet. Doubt gnawed at my thoughts. If a perfect hybrid could be corrupted, what if it happened to me? Zodra, as if reading my fear, whispered, "You are different. Your lineage comes from Aldrich. The others were born from experiments with blood stolen from royal tombs. But you are special." Suddenly, a metallic sound cut through the silence. It wasn't the wind. It was the sound of military boots echoing from the cave's entrance. They were close. Too close. And then a familiar voice sliced through the darkness. A voice that froze my blood. "Jake." My heart raced. It was my own voice. From the portal of shadows emerged a silhouette. Identical to me. Same features. Same stare. But there was something in his eyes, something dead. He smiled with my face. "Hello, brother." The cave seemed to shrink. Zodra's breath hitched. And for the first time, I realized that the true terror did not only come from what was approaching. The terror came from within me. The silence of the cave was broken only by the slow, heavy breathing of my reflection. A reflection that smiled. A reflection that was not mine. His eyes were empty voids, as if every spark of life had been ripped out of them. And yet, the face was mine. Every line. Every detail. Zodra stepped back, her claws tense, her body arched like a serpent about to strike. "It's him," she murmured. "The traitor. Your brother." The word burned inside me. Brother. It couldn't be. The impostor tilted his head, as if amused by my reaction. The one who lives since the beginning wishes to meet you, Jake. My voice echoed, raw and harsh. Who is he? His smile widened, cruel. An entity that existed even before the ancients began their experiments. He has decided it is time to take back what was lost. His dead eyes glittered with pleasure at my confusion. And for that, he needs you. A chill ran down my spine. The darkness behind him seemed to move, as if his presence attracted living shadows. Zodra stepped forward, her voice brimming with fury. Jake, don't listen to him. He is not you. He is what you could become if you chose wrongly. The imposter laughed. The sound was mine, yet broken, distorted, like an echo shattered into 1,000 pieces. Tell him, serpent. Tell him the truth. Tell him why you really need him. My chest tightened. What is he talking about? I asked, my own voice strange to me. He advanced slowly, like a predator who already knew the prey had no escape. His reactor glowed in bright crimson, pulsing like an open wound. It's not about breaking a curse, Jake, he said, dripping with twisted delight. It's about opening the oldest prison in the world. Zodra screamed, her voice vibrating with hate. Lies. The imposter raised his hand. The red glow of his reactor painted the cave in bloody light. Then why, tell me, do our reactors resonate together? Why does yours respond to mine? A searing pain tore through my chest. My reactor pulsed in answer, as if trying to escape my body. Zodra, is it true? Her eyes shone with tears. No, Jake. Yes, your reactors are connected. Yes, together they can shatter barriers. But not to release anything. To seal. To seal forever. A roar erupted from my reflection's throat. His red glow burst in waves of raw energy. Enough! The pain hit me like lightning. I collapsed to my knees, gasping, my heart burning like molten iron. He stepped forward, his voice distorted by hatred. Come with me, brother. Come willingly, or I will drag you. The weight was unbearable, until a cold hand touched mine. Zodra. Her touch doused the fire like water on flames. Her eyes searched for mine, urgent and steady. You have to choose, Jake. Trust me, or lose yourself to him. I looked up at my reflection, at that cruel smile that promised destruction, and then at Zodra, who had shared with me her pain, her secrets, her soul. I took a deep breath. My decision was clear. I trust you. In that instant, my reactor lit up. Not red, not blue, but white. A blinding flash swallowed the cave. My reflection screamed, a roar of agony and hatred, retreating into the shadows. This isn't over, brother, he thundered, his voice echoing like a storm. The one who lives since the beginning will not relent. And when he comes, no cave will be deep enough to hide you. And then he was gone, swallowed by darkness. The silence returned, heavy, almost unreal. My reactor still pulsed faintly inside my chest, and the imposter's words echoed in my mind like a curse. Zodra drew closer, her breath ragged. We need to leave. More will come. She was right. The cave was no longer safe. So we walked, without looking back, unaware that each step was carrying us deeper into a war we had never asked for, but could no longer avoid. We walked in silence for long minutes. Only the distant sound of dripping water echoed between the stone walls. Each step felt heavier than the last. It wasn't just physical exhaustion, it was the weight of revelation of what we had just faced. Finally, we found a small refuge, a narrower grotto hidden behind jagged rock formations. Zodra ran her claws along the walls, tracing symbols carved millennia ago, searching for signs of danger. After a moment, she murmured, "Nothing here. We'll be safe for a while." The word felt fragile, but I wanted to believe it. That was when exhaustion hit me like an avalanche. My knees gave way, and I collapsed against the cold stone wall. "Jake." Her voice broke, full of worry. "I just need to rest a little," I whispered, my eyes heavy as lead. She laid me gently on the rough ground, her cold hand pressing against my forehead. Instantly, I felt a strange relief seep into me, as if the fatigue was being drawn out and absorbed by her. Her lips moved in silence, but her voice rang inside my head. Rest, dude. Just rest. I let myself sink into darkness. But it wasn't rest. It was a direct plunge into a nightmare. Suddenly, I was somewhere else. I saw myself human again. The Jake from before. Normal. Fragile. The horizon stretched before me in peaceful mountains, bathed in the soft glow of twilight. There was a deceptive serenity in that scene. Because then the earth split open. Massive cracks tore through the living rock, and from them arose an indescribable horror. The forgotten. They rose like a black tide, a relentless swarm devouring everything in their path. Their eyes burned like glowing embers. Their screams were more than sound. They were echoes of ancestral pain, multiplied 1,000 times. The scene shifted. Suddenly, I was flying over cities. New York, Beijing. Skyscrapers rose like spears piercing the night sky. Lights sparkled like stars imprisoned on Earth. But the threat came from below. From the asphalt, from cracks in the underground, the hordes erupted. Thousands. Millions. A tide of shadows. The streets filled with screams. People ran in panic. Fathers clutching children, women stumbling amidst the crowd, the elderly crushed beneath the human tide. And then, silence. Absolute silence. As if the world itself was holding its breath. Until a roar echoed. A deep rumble that made the very air tremble. A sound so powerful it seemed to tear reality apart. I woke up with a jolt. My body was drenched in cold sweat. My heart pounded against my ribs like a war drum. The grotto was drowned in darkness. But there, before me, shone the eyes of Zodra. Intense. And for an instant, I felt she could see straight into my soul. The nightmare again? Her voice was soft, almost comforting. I nodded, unable to speak. She brushed the cold sweat from my forehead, her touch steady, and there was something new in her gaze. A calmness that hadn't been there before. She leaned closer, her voice low and firm. Jake, there's something you need to understand about what you saw. My voice wavered. Was it real? Will the forgotten truly return? She shook her head. It isn't a vision of the future. It's a warning. A possibility. Something we must prevent. Her words weighed heavily on me. I wanted to believe it had been just a dream. But the intensity, the detail, it all felt more real than life itself. Zodra came closer. I could feel her warmth, the slight tremor of her breath. And then, without hesitation, she nestled against me. In the darkness of the grotto, our bodies entwined. The reactor in my chest glowed deep blue, releasing an energy that enveloped us like a mantle. I felt something shift, not just within me, but within her as well. As if an ancient curse was dissolving, and in its place something new was being born. Something that should never have happened, but now was inevitable. The first ray of sunlight slipped through the grotto's opening, illuminating our sleeping forms. And the impossible revealed itself before us. Our bodies had changed. More human. Much more. The scales that once covered part of Zodra's body had vanished almost completely. Her skin was smooth, bronzed, vibrant. Her eyes, though still yellow, now bore a more human shape. Her tail was gone. In its place, perfect human legs. My own claws had receded. When I touched my face, I felt only skin. Ordinary human skin. Zodra looked at herself, stunned. It's working, she whispered as if in a trance. The curse is beginning to break. I smiled faintly, still in disbelief. It's as if our true forms are returning. But the moment of wonder did not last. Suddenly, she placed a hand over her abdomen. Her face changed. My heart froze. What is it? Zodra raised her eyes to mine. They glimmered with a mix of fear and awe. Her voice barely escaped her lips. I'm pregnant. The world collapsed around me. The silence after those words was absolute. Nothing in the world could prepare anyone for that. I'm pregnant. The two syllables echoed in my mind like gunshots fired inside a cave. Impossible. Unthinkable. And yet, in her eyes, I saw it was the truth. Zodra struggled to her feet, one hand still pressed against her belly. Her wide eyes held not only fear but also a spark of wonder, as if she had just witnessed a forbidden miracle. Since we united, your energy, my blood, my curse, all of it intertwined. The impossible became inevitable. I tried to stand, but my legs felt like lead, weighed down by the revelation itself. This is really possible? She nodded slowly, breathing heavily. But there is something you must understand. Her voice trembled. My pregnancy does not follow human time. It is accelerated. In 7 days, the child will be born. 7 days. The world spun before my eyes. A lifetime condensed into a single week. The destiny of a new species ready to burst into existence on an impossible countdown. I tried to react as a soldier, as a scientist, but everything inside me collapsed. 7 days, I repeated, as if speaking it aloud could make it make sense. 7 days until the birth? Zodra gripped my hand firmly. Her skin, now almost entirely human, was warm. Yes. And if we don't find a place with pure azurite, neither I nor he will survive. Her gaze locked into mine. There was no time for hesitation. I forced my mind to work. The geologist inside me awoke. The survivor. The warrior. Then we must move. Find that place. Quickly. She nodded, but in her eyes I caught the shadow of fear. Not just fear for the baby, but fear of something she had not yet told me. We left the grotto at dawn. The sun rose golden over the desert, painting the horizon with shades of fire and blood. The dry wind lashed against our faces, carrying the scent of ancient dust. We walked for hours in silence until a distant shape appeared. A hunting cabin, abandoned, half buried by shifting dunes. Inside, it was dusty, filled with cobwebs and the forgotten memories of men who would never return. But it offered shelter. And that was all we needed. I rummaged through drawers and found old clothes. I slipped into work trousers and a worn flannel shirt that still fit. Zodra, now almost entirely human, dressed in a wide shirt and men's trousers that dragged on the ground. She gazed at herself in the cracked mirror, touching her reflection like it was the first time she truly saw herself. "So this is how humans dress?" she murmured, almost in wonder. I managed a faint smile. "It's a start. We need to blend in. We can't draw attention." I searched further and discovered a small metal box with a few bills and old coins. Almost nothing, but enough to buy basic supplies. Zodra sat in a broken chair, her hand resting on her abdomen. Her breathing was different, heavier, shorter. "Are you all right?" I asked, alarmed. She inhaled deeply, her eyes fixed on mine. "It's happening too fast. The change, the life growing inside, everything is accelerating." My heart pounded. The pressure of time weighed like chains around my chest. 7 days. Perhaps even less. 50 kilometers away, the colonel stood over maps and glowing monitors inside a mobile desert base. The screen flickered with intermittent signals. A nervous technician approached. "Sir, we have a signal. The tracker in his blood is active again. Stable." The colonel narrowed his eyes. A cold smile stretched across his lips. "So, Specimen 7 and the Serpent Queen finally decided to surface." He turned to his men. "Prepare the convoy." And like a shadow rising against the sun, a caravan of armored vehicles and military jeeps rolled into the desert, kicking up dust, bringing war. By dusk, we reached a forgotten gas station on the roadside. We needed food, water, transport. The attendant, a middle-aged man, looked up as we entered. His eyes scanned us from head to toe, lingering too long. Watching. Suspicious. I gathered supplies and paid with the bills I had found. He said nothing, but his eyes followed us even as we walked away. As if he knew. As if he were waiting. We stepped outside as the sun sank. I looked toward the horizon, and then I saw it. A pillar of dust rising into the sky. The silhouette of military vehicles advancing like an inevitable storm. Damn it, they found us. I rushed back inside, grabbed the attendant by the collar, and slammed him against the counter. The keys. To a car. And a weapon. Terrified, he pointed at a key rack on the wall and then beneath the counter, where a shotgun lay. I grabbed both without hesitation. Zodra was already at the door, pulling open the nearest car. We jumped in, and I floored the accelerator down the dirt road. Behind us, the colonel's convoy appeared on the horizon. Relentless. The chase had begun. The old engine roared in agony, forced far beyond its limits. Every bump on the dirt road sent violent tremors through the steering wheel, my hands slick with sweat as I gripped it tighter. Behind us, the horizon burned with the blinding glare of military headlights. The colonel was coming, and he wasn't alone. In the rearview mirror, hell itself drew closer. A line of jeeps, armored vehicles, and armed trucks stretched across the desert like a pack of predators closing in. The dust they kicked up formed a gray wall, swallowing the setting sun. Zodra clutched the dashboard, her yellow eyes locked on the road ahead. But her free hand never left her belly. And I knew what that meant. Time was running out faster than we had imagined. Jake? Her voice was low, almost drowned out by the roar of the engine. They won't stop. Neither will I growled, slamming my foot harder on the accelerator. The car lunged forward like a wounded beast trying to escape merciless hunters. But the hunters were prepared. Too prepared. One of the jeeps pulled up alongside us. Soldiers raised their rifles, muzzle flashes sparking in the dusk. The windshield shattered into a storm of glass shards, the air filled with lethal fragments. I swerved sharply, ramming the car into theirs. The impact was brutal. The jeep veered off the road, flipping violently in a cloud of dust and twisted metal. But more were coming. 15. Maybe more. Every gunshot cracked like thunder inside my skull. The dust choked us, the air burned, and the road narrowed between jagged cliffs. Jake. Her scream cut through me like a blade. I looked ahead. An armored vehicle was charging straight at us, trying to crush us against the rocks. I wrenched the wheel with all my strength. The car skidded, tires screaming as it slid across the loose sand. By a breath, we escaped collision. But the car couldn't take it. The side impact blew out one of the tires. The vehicle spun, out of control. The world turned upside down. Metal against stone. A deafening crash. And then, silence. When I opened my eyes, everything was pain. Every breath tore at my chest. The reactor inside me pulsed weakly, on the brink of dying out. The car lay on its side, smoke rising from the crushed hood. The stench of leaking gasoline hung heavy in the air. Zodra, I croaked, forcing my broken body to move. She was beside me, trapped under twisted metal, her face streaked with blood and dust. And still, her eyes found mine. Resolute. "We're exposed," she whispered, her voice faint but steady. "They have us." And then I saw them. Soldiers. Dozens of them, encircling the wreckage with rifles raised. Their boots struck the sand in unison, a war drum of impending death. And finally the colonel. He approached slowly, every step deliberate, eyes burning with triumph. Specimen 7. Serpent Queen. His voice was cold, absolute. Game over. There was no escape. No time. The shotgun we'd stolen lay crushed beneath the wreck. Our bodies were broken, barely able to move. Only his words filled the silence. Game over. But it wasn't the end. It couldn't be. Zodra's hand found mine. And in that instant, Visions invaded my mind. Not memories. Visions. I saw her belly glowing, alive with pulsating blue energy. I saw the birth of a hybrid child, perfect, strong, impossible. And I saw the cost. Zodra vanishing before my eyes. Her body dissolving into pure energy, sacrificing herself so the child might live. My heart stopped. Tears burned, but I couldn't breathe, couldn't accept it. What did I just see? I gasped, desperate. Her eyes, brimming with tears, locked on mine with heartbreaking strength. Jake, there's something I didn't tell you. For the baby to live, for the curse to break completely, I must die. The world collapsed around me. Nothing else mattered. Not the colonel. Not his soldiers. Not the desert itself burning around us. The only thing that remained was the cruel certainty that I had only 7 days. 7 days to find the impossible. 7 days to save what mattered most. 7 days to defy fate itself. The world seemed to stop. The suffocating heat of the desert, the acrid stench of gasoline, the soldiers' boots closing in, it all faded. All I could hear was my own heartbeat, pounding like a war drum inside my chest. I must die. Zodra's words echoed endlessly, like a curse carved into stone. But it couldn't be. Not after everything. The colonel halted just a few meters away. His cold smile was that of a hunter who had finally cornered his prey. Get up, Specimen 7, he ordered, his voice like a blade of ice. Your time is over. But it wasn't only my time that was running out. It was hers. 7 days. 7 days to save the woman who now carried the last hope of 2 worlds. I shook with pain and fury. And then, something inside me stirred. Something that had been asleep until now. My reactor ignited. No longer weak. No longer uncertain. But blazing with a white light so intense it blinded the soldiers for a moment. Zodra's hand clutched mine. Even wounded, her eyes shone with unyielding strength. Jake, don't fight for me. Fight for him. The colonel raised his hand, signaling his men. Fire. Rifles aligned. Fingers tightened on triggers. And in that instant, I ceased to be just Jake. I ceased to be hybrid. I ceased to be human. The white energy exploded. A devastating shockwave surged outward, throwing soldiers through the air like ragdolls. The colonel staggered, eyes wide with disbelief as he fell to his knees. I rose, my body glowing as though forged from living light. I felt her hands on my skin, her reactor resonating with mine. It wasn't just an attack. It was a fusion. A bond deeper than anything we had ever shared. And then, for a heartbeat, I saw what she had been hiding. I saw the child, a being of light and flesh, a bridge between 2 species. I saw the destiny trying to chain us, the ancient bindings that had to be broken. And I saw the darkness, the entity, the one who had existed before all experiments. Still there, watching, waiting, smiling. But not today. Today he would not win. The colonel tried to rise, but the energy struck him again, hurling him back unconscious. The remaining soldiers stumbled, disoriented, retreating into the dust. We had only a single chance. Zodra pulled at me with the last of her strength. We must leave now. I lifted her into my arms, feeling her frail, burning body against mine. She pressed her hand against my chest, her voice breaking. Jake, the countdown has begun. 7 days. And I will not survive the 8th. The white light faded. The desert returned. The wind returned. But the soldiers were gone, scattered like sand before a storm. We ran. I don't know for how long. I don't know where to. Only that, in that fragile moment, we had escaped. By a thread. By a final breath of life. The sun was sinking when we found a smaller cave, hidden between dunes and stone. There we collapsed, gasping, broken. Zodra lay down, her hand over her swelling belly. I knelt at her side, holding her as if I could anchor her to this world. She smiled, A soft, sad, serene smile. You are different, Jake. You always were. You will find a way. I know you will. My hands trembled. I wanted to say something, promise her something, but no words were enough. Her eyes closed, and for an instant, the world was silent. I looked to the horizon. The first stars pierced the sky, and I felt the desert breathing in the darkness. I had 7 days. 7 days to save the woman I loved. 7 days to protect the future. 7 days to defy the oldest being in existence. I drew a deep breath, the cold wind stinging my face. And for the first time, I felt no fear. Only purpose. The war had only just begun. If you made it this far, thank you, truly, from the bottom of my heart. Creating this series has been brutal, hours of writing, editing, and animating, far more effort than profit, but crafted with every ounce of passion I had. And in the end, that's what matters. The story doesn't end here. But a second season will only come if this video is massively shared, if you leave a like, and if you write a comment. The algorithm doesn't value effort, but you can make it visible. Show that this is the kind of story you want to see. Your support is the key.